Hi, I'm David Crane. Today we're going to be talking about football. We're going to be talking about your legacy and how you can bring it all together to become an industry icon. On this podcast, it is Speak on Stage. So as usual, if you just joined us, nice to see you. Welcome to the show. I never announce when I'm going to do a show, and there's a very good reason because I never know when I'm going to do it. There's a number of different factors coming together, which also include, have I had an argument with the wife? I just be honest here. Because my studio is a home studio, as a direct result of that, there's a number of factors that can come into it. Partly having an argument on the way to do the show, that kills it. Dogs barking, that can sort of slow it all down. But what you might find in the middle of a show is you'll hear a noise that sounds like the FBI breaking into the room. It's not the FBI breaking in, it's Snow, my big Swiss Shepherd, who just sometimes likes to come in. So I close the door. If I lock it, she'll just keep clicking the handle and she'll come in anyway. So I just leave it open. I'm warning you about the noise that you could be getting. Anyway, today's show, he said moving on because it doesn't make sense for me to not move on. Today's show is really about sharing some ideas with you. And also I'll be talking to you about how you can join the Industry Icon program, which we're already started. There's people from all around the world involved in this, and I'll share with you exactly why you'd want to do it. Meanwhile, wherever you are in the world, feel free to say hi. I always like to know whereabouts in the world you are because it makes it fascinating for me to be able to communicate and chat and share ideas with you at the same time. So wherever you are, then make sure that we know to say hello to you as well. Just put it in the comments if you're not sure. Don't shout it at your phone or your laptop because that doesn't make sense. Today I want to talk to you, as well as welcoming you from all around the world, I want to talk about football. Now, why should I talk about football? Dave, we don't care about football. We're at work. You can't talk about it like that. I can and I will. The reason I want to talk about football is because the English Premier League is coming to the end right now. And not just the English Premier League, all the leagues all around the world are coming to the climax where you find out who's going to be the champions and the Champions League and all that other stuff. If you're not a footballer, stick with me. You're not a football fan, stick with me. There's an analogy here. I don't want to mess around when I say it. I just want to help you with this whole concept. So, taking the idea of football. Now, the English Premier League is seen as the best in the world, and people say, yeah, but why don't they always win the Champions League? Because anyone in the English Premier League is a really high-level team, and if you look at many of the other leagues, then they've got some brilliant teams who keep winning, but all the rest of the teams aren't quite as big because there's less resources, and it's very complicated. But this year we had the World Cup in Qatar, which kind of threw out a lot of players' plans. Because they go to be the top of their team or they play in a Premier League team, and then the World Cup comes along. Whether they get selected or not matters because of the eyeballs that are on them doing their very best at the really highest level. If they get injured, they can't go back to their team afterwards. They might spend 3 months out, or they might find themselves, because of that bump in profile, that their worth goes up through the roof and everybody wants to work with them, like Jude Bellingham, who played for England, about 19 years old, and everybody wants to spend $100 million on bringing him to their team. But the challenge is, if you're a footballer, then your whole career is actually really short. Well, we'll say it's like a fly, because a fly gets a much shorter career. But it's a very challenging time to get yourself out there and show who you are and what you do. And by the time you reach early 30s, if you're lucky, mid 30s, your career is pretty much over. Now, in the old days, it meant that your legacy was the goals you'd scored, the medals you'd won, and the amount of people who could turn around and say, I remember you, you've done really well. But a lot of the money was different in the old days, and so sometimes if they're lucky, they would open up a bar or a pub, or they'd have a hotel, and that was kind of it. These guys are multimillionaires, and I'm not knocking any footballers. I love the game. But I often think about their legacy, because you see a number of different things happening on the screen. You've got your favourite team or your least favourite team usually playing against each other, two non-different teams, but you're watching it anyway for the spectacle. But in each team, you've got a player who wants to work at the highest in their game to get to the highest level they can get. Because you can't be competitive and play a really high level unless you live, breathe, and think football. And an injury can ruin your career instantly. Now, think about analogies with your business. Think about analogies with your own career, because that's where this is going. So Leeds is my team. Leeds and Newcastle. because I was born in Leeds. I'm from Middlesbrough, which is near Newcastle, and they're kind of doing well in the Premier League. Leeds not so well. Let's not talk about that. Playing Leicester. If you're watching this video later on, they're playing Leicester tonight. And that means you can plot exactly when this went out live. But it's going out live now. If you've got comments, by the way, let me know who you are and where you are. I'd always love to say hi and share with you some stuff. But stick with me with the football thing. So what legacy do you have? What legacy are you creating? What's the relationship you have with your team? Because Manchester United are going to be, Manchester City, not United, are going to be playing against Arsenal. Now, if you know anything about football, or certainly been following it this current time, you've got Arsenal, who are a young team. They're like a boy band who are at the top of the league. But they've had a few mishaps. And so there's a huge distance between them and the number 2 team, Manchester City, is shrinking. When they play each other, then whoever wins will probably win the entire title of the league. So it's massively psychological because you've got a young boy band team who are doing very well, but very enthusiastic at the beginning of their career, versus an older team who are like pulling together the Avengers of Magnificent Seven. If it wasn't 7, it was 11. And they're all older at their game. In fact, for many of them, it might be their last season at the really highest level, because there's a very good chance that Pep Guardiola will get rid of some of them to bring in some new blood, because they want the team to survive as a club, not necessarily the players. But what do you do if you're the manager of these teams? How do you get your teams to work with you? And how do you create a legacy as part of that? Now, you might have been watching football, in which case you're understanding kind of where this is going. I'd love to have your comments and where you're from and your thoughts on this as well. But when we're talking about this, remember that for many of the teams and for many of the managers, they only last about 4 months and then they get sacked. If you're not producing great results in 3 to 4 months, then you lose your job and you drop to the bottom of the food chain because you just didn't get the results, and we're not going to spend money on you because it's $1 billion team. Not just the players, but the establishment and the branding, the marketing and the shirts and all the stuff that goes with it. So it's a really difficult position to be in when you're the manager, selecting the right team, getting them all to come together and working out what makes them tick. And that's why I want to do this. It's a long building, but think about it with your legacy, think about your team and what you're doing in your office. If you're a manager, it matters. But if you're doing it on your own and you've got to think like a footballer, how do I make my career count? Now, you might not even be thinking about it. It might be the first time that it's come to mind. And that's even more interesting because I want to talk about why you go to work. Because Simon Sinek, who's an incredible thought leader in the process of talking about the corporate world and business and so on, he talks about what's your why. I was listening to Marcus Buckingham, who used to work for Gallup, is another incredible thought leader, saying that your what is more important than your why. Now, it might just be semantics and choosing different words, but ultimately, your own success is built up of things that you do throughout the day. You get up, you go to work, you do your stuff, and you go home. But in that time that you do the work, whether you're working from home or working from a coffee shop or going to an office full of people, what you do on a regular basis makes a big difference to the relationship you have with people. What you do makes an impact on what people think. And if you've got a family at home, they take the brunt of all the horrible stuff that you bring home. If you're working too hard, you don't get on with your boss, you're not winning, then it happens to them at the same time as it happens to you. So the question you should be asking really is, do you love your work? Because if you're the kind of person that goes to work, does your job, you get paid okay, it's, if I didn't have this job, I'd have to go looking for something else, so it's kind of convenient. But there's a timer on your career and on your patience. And if you actually do a job that you don't love, and when I say love, you don't have to love the whole job, but there's enough things that go on through a day where you say, I'm so glad to be here. If you're not feeling that, then that is a real challenge that you need to consider. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this, because it's really important considering whether you love your job or not, because most people will then turn around and say, yeah, but I'll do it for a couple of years, put some money aside, and then I'll do something because, I'll be good then. But the problem is you'll be different then. The needs that you have, the wants that you have will be very different because you've compromised who you are and what you do. Are you with me so far? Good. So when we're talking about that, it's ultimately about creating your legacy. So when I say creating your legacy, you're probably thinking, well, Dave, what does your legacy look like? Let me share mine with you so you get a better idea about what it means.
I have been participating in Dave Crane's Industry Icon program. Dave Crane is one of the best coaches in the industry.
One of the most knowledgeable speakers I know.
I was so impressed.
He shared the stage with celebrities, athletes, politicians, and royalty.
You've been an inspiration to me since the first time I saw you on LinkedIn, man.
New prospects should know that you are a world-class broadcaster.
He's a true professional. He operates from his heart, and he always speaks his truth.
Where do I begin?
I looked around the room, and all I could see was eyes on you, ears on you. You could have heard a pencil drop.
Dave is someone who is a limitless thinker with a big heart.
And his industry icon program helps coach great leaders into becoming great speakers.
It's helped me improve my image online. Everyone I know that's worked with you says the same thing. It's helped me improve my presentation and speaking abilities.
Clarity, clarity, and clarity.
But more importantly, it's helped me to have a crystal clear message in what benefit I can add to my audience.
You know, I'm in TV, and so people assume that, you know, speaking in front of crowds is easy. But I'm on a set, and it's very different to go from a closed set to speaking to a live audience.
Now, because of Dave, I totally get it. I totally get why it's important, and I totally get that I can do it too.
There you go. So that's my legacy. I'm happy with that. I'm building on it all the time, and big things are happening. So watch that. And we've got a question already coming through from Andy Pennock. Nice to see you, Andy. He's saying, Dave, how do you switch off from a job that has got lots of pressure? Well, change the job is a start, but also change the relationship you have with the pressure. So if you find that you're working non-stop and it's really difficult to do, then maybe you need to leverage it better so there's other people who are pulling their weight as well. Or maybe you need to outsource it. Or maybe you need to change your relationship by changing your job completely. There's lots of people who thrive under pressure. I love pressure, but I love pressure doing what I do really well. So I'm live now on LinkedIn. So is there a pressure? Things could break down. Things could be challenged. Sometimes the broadcast could be a little slow and I go like that. And say, oh, it's stuck. Go, no, Dave's just washing his hands. So there's lots of different factors you can make, and I will be talking about that in more depth. And hello to Mohammed Mobin Malik as well. Good to see you again, sir. Wherever you are in the world, by the way, let me know. I'm fascinated to find out, and I'll be sharing with you some gems. Let me share with you this particular thought, because I think it's kind of important. When we're talking about jobs and we're talking about what you do, 73% of Americans that were surveyed said that they have the ability to change jobs. But only 18% actually do it. Now, when I say America, that's just this survey, but it's probably true in most other countries as well. Certainly in countries where your job and your visa relies on the two being together, but it's harder to change because then you might lose your job and lose your ability to be in that country. And many expats around the world are nodding because they know exactly what I'm talking about. And so, Michael Baptiste, of course, good to see you, sir. And there we go. I am the real deal. Otherwise, I'd be wearing a dress and nobody would know. Or maybe I am. Just don't know. So if people can change their jobs, why don't they go about doing it? Why is it that so many people stick with stuff instead of changing it? And I want to analyze that and look at it because years ago, about 30 plus years ago, I was working for the BBC in the UK. In fact, I was working for the BBC and I took part in a TV game show called Blind Date. In fact, I might be able to share with you a little clip from it, which is embarrassing, but you know what? Let's just do it. This is me 30 years ago on Blind Date. And yes, I look younger because it's 30 years ago.
You said on film there, I mean, she was smiling and giggling all the time. And it was beginning to wear you down.
Well, there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned, right? And I'll show you. If you sit next to Mass and you go... that is what happens. Now, one little clue from that, because she hates whistling. Now, she hits you if you do it, and I can see it when we get married, obviously. 2 years down the line, that'll be a thumb on the head. 5 years down the line, when there's loads of little kids running about, she'll be running through the house with a baseball bat saying, "Oh, whistle, there's one of you!"
I can't stand whistling. It does my brain in. And once
stop it!
1, 2, 3.
You asked for it, Baz. I hated whistling. He did it more and more and more.
But I did the rest of it from out of arm's length so she couldn't hit me. So I was all right.
So it's a bit of a ropey video, but you can see me there 30 years ago. Now, here's a story that I haven't shared with many people. Many people haven't seen that clip, and Mass was a lady there. We're friends now on Facebook. We weren't really friends there. But I was working at the BBC, and I wasn't getting the break I wanted to. I was trying to prove to them, look, I'm a really good guy to get on your books and keep and promote and see as one of your top presenters. And so I went on Blind Date, which was a national TV show in the early days of reality TV. It was one of the biggest ones in those days. And as a direct result of being on that show, they sacked me. Now, I'm not blaming all BBC people, it was 30 years ago, but I got told by the station manager at the radio station where I was working, we can see that your direction is a different way, so we're going to let you go. I'm thinking, no, that's the opposite. I wanted to prove to you I'm really good in front of the camera. I'm really good at broadcasting. So you take me on to do more, challenge me more. And it didn't really work. So as a result of that, I applied for lots of different jobs up and down the UK, working in TV. And in those days, and you might not remember it, I'm trying to see if I've got a book to illustrate you. Okay, imagine this here, which is our TV remote. That, but being bigger, right? Much bigger, like a chocolate bar sized, at least. Let's see if I'm just trying to design it now. That was a VHS tape. Really ridiculously big things. And when you sent them in the post, if you sent one to anybody, then the postman would have to have a lie down afterwards because they're so heavy. So I sent them out and I got auditions for a couple of TV shows. But in the end, I didn't get anything. So I left the UK, came to Dubai, and the rest of it is there. But that risk is really challenging, really worried about doing it. And I've just seen from the comments, my dear friend, Jeff Benison, we go back many years. We're at school together, I know, yeah. And we know secrets, skeletons in the cupboard. We can't share with anybody for legal reasons. And we know how to get each other. But he's just resigned from his job. He's working on a new thing, which is fantastic. What risks will you take? What will you do to position yourself as being the best? Now, here's a couple of things that people go through. And hello to Tristan as well, and hello to Mohammed again. Let me know where you're calling from, by the way. I'm fascinated to see which countries we're reaching with this. Why people don't make big changes? Why don't most people turn around and do it? We've already seen with the facts and figures that they don't do it. But why is that? Let me just have a little look at that. A couple of reasons. First of all, fear of failure. Worried about the fact that it's all going to go wrong, it's all going to go terrible, and I will fail. Well, that is maybe true, but if you think about failure differently, think about failure as learning curve. So it's not about what happens, it's what you do next. And you won't find out until you go for it and jump and grow wings on the way down, which is my own particular phrase. Hello to Tristan in in Hong Kong, fantastic, that's brilliant. And Mohammed's in Kuwait, excellent. Wherever you are, let me know, by the way. I'm always fascinated to see who we're reaching. Also, family responsibilities. If I do this, then my family will starve. Yeah, but they've got to also deal with you being grumpy pants all the way through. But if you do something to get you where you really need to be, and you get super success, and your family's going to be even happier, because you're not going to be so depressed and anxious and grumpy. They're going to turn around and say, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you do that. And they're proud of you. Okay, health issues. I understand that. You might not make a big change because you're worried about your health. Okay, but you're a long time dead. Try your health then. Okay, but if you're doing something that eases the game for you, then it'll make it a lot easier. Difficulty adapting, well, don't choose something that's not going to work for you. Duh! Choose something that you can actually lean into, that plays to your strengths. Now, here's a factor that most people don't know. Because right now, I know a lot of people who do the strengths finder thing, and there's a lot to be said that work on your strengths. Yes, but if your strength is amazing, but you actually hate what you're good at, then it's a weakness. Are you with me on this? So, right, if I hated talking to audiences, but I'm brilliant at doing it, then that would mean that it's not me being strong. Hello to Leslie from Abu Dhabi and Mohammed Arshad from Dubai. Good to see you as well. So, let me explain a little bit more about what that means. So, if you're talking about, for instance, your strength being... this is what you should be looking at. What you're best at, what you're passionate about, and what people will pay for. If you do what you're best at only, then you could end up with a job that you really, really hate. If you're doing what you're great at, but nobody wants to pay for it, then you're going to be fantastic, but you can't make a living out of it. And if you do what you're really good at and people will pay for, but you hate it, you're going to be rich and bored. Does that make sense to you? Are you with me? Just say yes, Dave. and I'd look to know your comments and thoughts as we go along with this. So as I was saying, these are the reasons why people don't make those big changes. Difficulty adapting, well, don't do something that's not your strength that you can't easily get into. Lack of mentorship, hello, there's lots of people that can help you to get there already. There's coaches online you can find, there's podcasts, but there's also people like me who do mentor people to change jobs and get to where they really need to be. That's not my target audience. My target audience is people who are decision makers who want to start a business or they want to position themselves as the best in their industry. Just saying. Okay, but limited networking. I don't know enough people. You've got Google people, Google companies, get on LinkedIn, connect with people, get your network to help you. They will do. Don't ask your boss, where can I move to? Because they'll say anywhere but here. Just keep it quiet on the down low. You can always apologize. Here's the thing that I find fascinating, and it is true. When people talk about it, you can always apologize afterwards. Sometimes you're forgiven, sometimes you're not. But if you ask for permission, you always get no. Just saying. All right, job security concerns. Well, nowadays, nothing's secure. AI is coming in, and it's going to change 45% of jobs. The only thing you can guarantee won't be affected by AI is if you work in the garden or you work on a building site. Those jobs are pretty good for a while, just in case you didn't know. By the way, let me know where you are. If you've got any questions, feel free to fire them in, and feel free to share this amongst people so they can watch it and get some stuff as well. Also, age discrimination. As you get older, people do make it harder for you. And there's a good reason why they do that, because as you get older and wiser, then you become more difficult to tell what to do because you won't put up with it, which is a very good thing. But also you become more expensive because generally as you get older, you start a family, you've got bills, you got car. If you're single, you just got a credit card and just party all night and it's kind of easy to look after you. But that doesn't mean that you can't turn around and say, right, I'm going to start my own side hustle at my age with my experience. And here's the thing. I believe that if you're over 40 years old and you're working and you're over 40 years old and beyond, maybe 45, but 40, we'll stop it there. You are also at the biggest hitting age. So people say, oh, you're 65 or 70 years old. Yeah, might be a little bit tired, but here's the thing. You're also able to turn around from your wisdom and say, no, do it this way. What do I know I'm talking about? I know because I've done it for years. Just do it that way and you get it done. That's why age discrimination doesn't make sense. And we should employ older people because they know what they're doing. You might say they don't work so long, but that's not true. They work just as hard as you do and as well as you do, but smarter generally. Okay, inertia and complacency, that's a problem. I really don't want to. I'm okay where I am. Well, how many people lost their job during a pandemic or lost their job afterwards when artificial intelligence came in and automated their stuff? Or maybe their company, which was there forever, laid them off. Do you remember when the big tech companies, the Googles and the Facebooks and Tesla and everybody, they were jobs you wanted. Wow, go there and they look after you and everything. They're the first jobs to get laid off, and they will also become more difficult to get because now artificial intelligence, ChatGPT and everything else can code. Yeah, I know. So being a coder was an easy job, and I never thought it was, to be honest with you. I thought that's a big challenge because it's only a matter of time till coding can code itself. And I was right. Okay, mismatched skill sets. Well, don't change into something you're not particularly good at. All those things, when you do them properly, you can work it out. And personal doubts and insecurities, yes, whatever. That's why most people don't make a change. That's why most people don't move. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Most people, in fact, just say, I'll wait and see how things go. Maybe it'll get better. Yeah, really? Okay. Well, I won't go on about this particular fact because every motivational speaker around the world will say this, but the definition of insanity, according to Alcoholics Anonymous, is doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. Does that make sense? Now, if I've said this, you're probably reaching having a drink right now. Bad taste joke. Good taste water. All right. So going back to this challenge, wait and see is what most people see. But the tsunami is already here. We're at a position now where things are more challenging than they've ever been before. But the opportunities are better than they've ever been before. The artificial intelligence impact is huge. I won't go on about it too much today. But one of the things that I found fascinating, and I'll go back to this slide. One of the things I found so fascinating was, do you remember when Elon Musk and about 100 different tech people turned around and said, stop artificial intelligence. You're going to ruin the world. We're all going to die in a flame of whatever massive proportions. And also the robots are going to take over. And the key people who are playing a money game, the likes of Google and OpenAI and Bing is Google, isn't it? No, it's not Microsoft. All these guys turn around saying, right, okay, we hear you, but we're still going to carry on. And 60 different countries came together and they said, we will not use AI in war. And they all signed a little document saying, we will not use AI. Look, on my hand. I've written it there like that. But then, look, Elon Musk and all the rest of them are now getting into the AI game. Mark Zuckerberg in the AI game. Why? Because that 6 months might be true that you should slow it all down, but it's got so much money in it. If you don't rush towards it, all those morals and principles of we're moral not joining in, they've all gone now. We're joining in. We're going to see how much money we can make out of it. So AI is here, like it or not, it's making a big impact. So you have to be ready to start playing with that. So where does that leave you? What's the challenges for you? Well, there's lots of challenges considering this, especially when you think about this. This is how we make money. In case you didn't know that, and you're not in the sales, then let me tell you. If you're running a business, then what happens ultimately is you have got to get people to buy from you. You have a thing. You might be selling a thing, I don't know. But you're selling something, services, products, widgets, whatever. People have a headache. They say, right, I've got a headache. How can I fix it? Who can fix it? They usually Google, or now they'll probably use AI to find who's the best fit, or they ask on social media, who do you reckon can fix it? They look at the different options and say, will my headache disappear if I work with that person? And they go, right, that's the one I want unless I can get it cheaper. And if they can't get it cheaper, they say, okay, sold out there. That's how you do it. That's how you do business. And you know this, I know. So your job is to provide certainty and proof and to make sure that this is the Venn diagram I'm talking about now. Okay. In fact, I'll just get bigger so I can point at it. The Venn diagram over there. Yep, you with me? Okay, in yellow you can see certainty and proof, social proof. I have done this for many years, and if you work with me, I'll fix it for you. That's what you need to say. You have to have a niche, not just say it to everybody, because most people have no interest. But people who have got an interest will pay. You've got to create trust so people want to work with you. You've also got to look at what their objectives are. Make sure there's a return on investment. Be very good at the sales process. And then you become the best choice. Does that make sense so far? Yes, good. Okay. If you just joined us, by the way, say where you are or ask me any question. And I promise-ish, I will answer it. So with that being said, if you can get into this early, then it's better. The earlier that you can start a side hustle, the earlier that you can choose a job that you really want to have, the earlier that you can start building your legacy, that's what really matters. Remember I talked about the footballers? They all start from a very early age to get groomed. Is a wrong phrase, I realize that, but it used to mean like horses, teach people how to be very good at what they did from a very early age. So being an early adopter, for instance, of AI is a huge impact, because what happens is the innovators create all the stuff, and then the early adopters jump onto it and start making the money. And then later on, the early majority jump on and say, we'll do it as well. But by that time, the big profit is gone. If you see at the bottom of this diagram where it says profit opportunity, we're still kind of in there, but it's moving on very quickly, incredibly fast. So you have to jump into this stuff and you have to start making an impact in whatever it is you do. And I know you're thinking, Dave, I don't have a tech company or a startup. I don't understand crypto or fintech or what's an NFT. And why don't people talk? They've got lots of good questions there. Why don't people talk about NFTs? They do, but just not to you. It's still a thing. All right. So what do you need to do? You need to work out who you are and what you do. Because here's the thing, and there's a phrase by Desiderius Erasmus, who's an old mate of mine with a big nose. I don't know who he is, but I just got this slide. I thought I'd share it. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. If you understand what you're doing better than everybody else, you don't have to be a genius at it. You just have to be better at it than everybody else, and you will be seen as the very best at what you do. Now, I have the Industry Icon Program. I'm leaving this QR code wherever you are, whatever you're doing. If you're interested in more about this, and this is on the replays as well, you get your phone, this is my phone here, and you hold it up and you take a screenshot or you tap it, and I'll open up the beta page so you can see that we actually have our Industry Icon program up and running. We started about a week ago and we got lots of people from around the world involved in it, but we're still taking on new people. If you like what I'm talking about, click on that, have a look at it, and you'll understand exactly what it is and how it can make an impact for you. That's the Industry Icon Initiative, okay? So what that does is it helps you to become unstoppable. And you're saying, Dave, why do I need to become unstoppable? Because a tsunami will wipe you out. Because you've got uncertainty and you're worried about it, and I know you are, because lots of people are worried about it, and I want to share with you a number of different ways to be able to fix this big challenge. Becoming unstoppable would be a perfect way to deal with stuff. Unstoppable in business, unstoppable in mindset, unstoppable emotionally. See this? Can you see my cup? Let me just show it to you now without spilling on. Straight out of Wakanda. Look at that. I got that on holiday to Wakanda. I found out that many of my family are actually from Wakanda. Now, that's a Marvel joke. If you're into Marvel, you go, and if you're not, you're probably going to Google, oh, Wakanda, we're looking for a summer holiday. Let's have a look at that. Okay, have a look at that. So what do you need to become unstoppable? Well, very simply, there's a couple of skills that you need to have. You need to be able to reinvent yourself easily on an ongoing basis. So that means adapting, that means working out who you are, working out what they want, and working out how hard it will be to get there. There's lots of online courses, lots of mentorships, lots of people who can help you with that process. It's like Blue Ocean Strategy. If you don't know the difference between Blue Ocean Strategy and Red Ocean, I'll tell you very quickly, because that's what I'm here to do to help. Blue Ocean Strategy is the idea, well, a red ocean is one that's full of blood. All the fish, all the boats, all the swimmers, everybody's in there, and they're all trying to undercut each other. Best price, I'll go 50% of what they're doing. No, I'll go 50% of what he said. I'll go 50% of what she's offered. And then what happens is you end up making no money, and everybody's just fighting against it. What you want is a blue ocean. I want a place where there's no competition, so you do something differently, and everybody who wants to work with you says, hey, I love your stuff, and it's so peaceful over here. And you say, yes, because I'm the only person who does what I do. Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a fascinating book that's really boring, but now I've just shared it with you, so you've saved the book. If the author, by the way, is watching, it's a really fascinating book. It's really boring, but don't tell them. Okay, going back to that. So you want to be able to easily reinvent yourself, and also you want plain sailing for the rest of your life. So when a pandemic hits you, remember I'm a speaker by trade. You probably worked it out from the time that we've been chatting. Then when the pandemic came along and I lost all my work, I had to go, how am I going to make this work? But I had to go back to that original concept you see with the circles, the one I showed you, I'm not going to, the hedgehog. Google hedgehog concept and you'll see. And I had to look at that and say, well, how can I adapt to do what I do? And I realized that as being a speaker and teaching people to speak, I learned how to be a niche celebrity. And I can teach people how to be a niche celebrity. So that was my new business. And I realized that between those things, if we have another pandemic, which I hope never, ever, ever happens again to anybody ever, but if we went back indoors, I could live with that. If I lost all my work because of my location and there's no gigs, doesn't matter, my clients are all around the world. I know now that I've got a business that I can do from a laptop anywhere on the planet. I can be going live now anywhere on the planet just by doing this. You also need to have a strong personal brand. What goes into your personal brand? Lots of things. You need to have a physical location where you're based. Maybe if you're selling stuff, but online is fine. A catalog of things that you offer, a website that people go to see, a search engine optimized product that people can find. You need to make sure that you have direct mail, that you've got email, that you've got your own TV or radio advertising, maybe, or maybe you do stuff like this where you create your own TV show and you just put it onto social media and people can find you, but also a domination or an understanding of what social media does. It's called having a multi-channel. So multi-channel marketing, reaching people wherever they are, rather than reaching people where you want to particularly be. That's what you're looking for. You also need to have a great network of big hitters, influencers, people in your industry or people outside of your industry. Sometimes it's useful having people outside of your industry who have a big mailing list so you can sell to those people through them, give them commission for it. But basically having connections outside of your immediate connections is what you're going to be looking for from that. So a network of big hitters and proof that you are a thought leader. How do you do that? Well, I've been talking now for about half an hour. If you just joined me, there's football stuff earlier for you. Manchester City versus Arsenal. Pep Guardiola versus Mikel Arteta. Who's going to win? I'd like to know. Put it in the comments, by the way. Who do you think is going to win the league? And who's going to win what score when they play tomorrow night as we talk about this? But to be a thought leader, there's a number of different things that you have to have. Or you don't have to, but very useful. Talking about ebooks, but books, being an author is a really great way to position yourself as a thought leader. Having a podcast, having great infographics around the stuff that you do. Having a blog so people can see what it is that you're talking about and understand your methodology, having case studies of who you've worked with and what you've done and so on, and creating white papers all the time, sharing with people different ways of improving their business, because it's not about you, it's about what's in it for them. Does that make sense? Good. I'm glad it does. So when we're talking about that and you say, okay, what about video? Video is really useful as well. So when I talk, for instance, about the importance of being able to show what you can do and bringing people through, I know that I can instantly show you, for instance, a video of me working at the Dubai Rugby Sevens when I talk about sport and so on and working audiences. Unlike many speakers, I have done it. So I know what I'm talking about. Have a look at this.
Let's make the biggest sing-along of all time.
There you go. That was me pandering to my ego, but also showing you that there's got to be evidence. There's got to be proof. You've got to turn around and say, I've been doing that for a very long time, so I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you're just making it up, and it's so easy now just to throw stuff out there and have people turn around and say, oh, well, that must be true because I heard it somewhere. Do you know what things go viral right now? And it'll explain the political scene that we have around the world and the challenges that we have with actually watching the news and the amount of fake news. Forget all the artificial intelligent altered faces and voices that are out there. 2 things go viral. Things that make you laugh and things that make you angry. So therefore, if you're saying things that really wind people up, they tell other people what you're saying and it becomes a thing. If you tell people things that make them go, oh, that's nice, or I agree with you, nobody shares it with anybody else. So you end up with a political scene where the majority of people in the middle are really nice, but nobody is interested in their opinion because it's kind of okay. But you've got extremes on either side who say crazy stuff and everybody goes, have you heard? And so the whole political landscape around the world isn't bonkers. It's full of really nice people. But really nice people don't tend to say anything about it. So it's important to be able to say and back up for your business what it is that you talk about. Prove you're a thought leader. You need a solution for all occasions and come up with stuff that people would want. When I say a solution for all occasions, when you're in your niche solution, so you want to be a one-stop shop that people can go to, and when they say, can you fix this for me? You go, yep, no problem, I can do that for you. Just let me know what it is. And that's selling the certainty. Remember I told you at the very beginning, certainty and social proof is essential for who you are and what it is that you do. And you need a roadmap to success. You need to be able to tell people what it is that you do. So for instance, when I talk about my own particular roadmap, when I work with people from the Industry Icon program, this is it. So when I help people to position themselves as the very best in their industry, they start off with number 1, an awareness that everything isn't quite how it should be. There's a challenge. I don't know why, but there's something better than what I'm doing right now. I've seen other people happy at work. Why am I not happy at work? And then number 2 is the aspiration. And this is a roadmap. The aspiration is to look at some people and say, why can't I do what they do in my industry? Or these people are in my industry, they're doing really well. Why can't I be like them? And then step number 3 is we start driving towards that. Sometimes people do it on their own. They say, right, I'm driving like my car. I'm in my car. I've got all my stuff. I'm driving to move towards where these people are. But the problem is you don't really know where those people are. They've got their act together and they're driving, but they've got no roadmap. Then once they've got that together, then they start repositioning themselves, saying, right, I'm going in the wrong direction. I should be going this direction over here instead of going over there. And then it becomes much easier. But then you realize as they're getting towards where they need to be, the big challenge isn't that. The big challenge is very simple. You're carrying too much baggage. Nobody's interested in half of your stuff. Just narrow it right down. Refine what it is that you want to do. And then, number 6, you own your industry, or you own a chunk of it. You become an industry icon. And I know you're thinking, oh yeah, Dave, what do you mean by industry icon? Well, imagine that people could find you. Imagine ChatGPT, right? If you put in ChatGPT, who's Dave Crane, it will tell you who Dave Crane is. Why? Because I built up a brand. But if you look at a lot of the other influential people that you find on social media, especially on LinkedIn, and say, who's X, Y, and Z? Not X, Y, and Z, because there's nobody called X, Y, and Z. But put them in. If they don't show up, then they're only relevant for a certain amount of time. Not saying that they're not worthwhile, but a lot of people do stuff that's just got what's called vanity metrics, which is that they're famous because they show you videos of stuff that makes you emotional, but it doesn't mean that you actually would hire them for anything or buy anything from them or even know what it is that they offer. Now, that's great if you're after just people interacting with you, but why bother? If you're not going to make money from what you do, then why would you do it? So you've got this video and you've got 1 million followers and they'll go, that's amazing video. And they say, what do you do for a living? I love your videos. Oh, I'm a plumber. Oh, well, if I ever need a sink and I'm in your world, I'll ask you. Not knocking plumbers, but you get the general point of what I'm talking about. If you don't, then I was just having to go. So with that, you need your skills and abilities, knowledge, and also your ability to tell people, this is what I do, and get them to work with you. You need invisible. You need to go from invisible to visible. You need to have peace of mind because people know who you are and how to find you. And also, when you've got all this balance and you've got it all working together, you need to also make sure that you spend more time with the people that you love. Not just going on about your work, because that's great, good for you, but there's other people that support you, people that like you, people that are friends with you. You need to be able to let your hair down, because otherwise you get to a finishing line and you say, ha, look at what I've achieved. And everyone turns around and says nothing because nobody was with you for the journey. And nobody loved you the same way as you should have been loved, and you didn't spend the time with them. One thing I learned from the pandemic is it's not just about the money and it's not just about the satisfaction. It's a balance of everything. If you get to a finishing line of having had a good life with lots of challenges that you overcame and lots of job satisfaction, and you loved going to work every single day, and you love people around you and they loved you, and your kids, if you have kids, or your pets, or even your goldfish, turn around and say, bloop, because that's what goldfish do, but they say, what a great life, thank you so much for everything, then you did it right. If they turn around and say, I wish you'd spent more time with me, then maybe you should spend more time with them, because that's what they wanted, not the money and the holidays and the posh car, the quality time, because you never get time back again. Does that make sense, what I'm talking about? Good? Okay, good. So you also need to have the global community. That global community can help you and can support you, and they're there for you. And they're there for you online. You don't have to see them anymore, probably just as well, but you can meet people and do business with them. All my clients, or most of my clients, are online. We're on Zoom. We might never get a chance to come out to play, but we've got big things planning in the future where we can come to conferences all about the industry I come, but that's another story. But having a global community, it's easy to do, and people now are used to it. You're watching me now on LinkedIn. You've got LinkedIn, you've got a phone, you've got a laptop or iPad, and you're watching. You can connect with people very easily, and you've got greater control over your future. You never have to get old, because what you do is timeless. And if you create a legacy with things like books and podcasts and so on, they'll all continue long after you go. One of my favorite people on the planet was Dame Edna Everage, Barry Humphries, Celeste Patterson, who died yesterday. And if you don't know, Dame Edna Everage died at 85, I believe. One of the funniest comedians on the planet, bar none. Australian guy, and the characters he created were always wicked, but brilliant. But one day, you will go. That's a given. What you leave behind and the way people feel about you is massive. And that happens now. It doesn't happen in the future, because you might not get that future. Look at the people we lost this year. Ray Liotta, great actor. There's loads of people, really brutal. So start making a legacy. Start making relationships. Start helping people. Start loving people now. Otherwise, it might be too late. They'll turn around and say, yeah, but you missed your opportunity. Brenton, dear friend of mine. Where are you, by the way? In China still. Usually is. Travels a lot. Good man. Okay, so these are the things that you want. I'm not going to go on forever. I will share with you how you can get involved in working with me. The Industry Icon Initiative is up and running. We have a team all around the world who are learning these key things. What key things, Dave? First of all, overcoming imposter syndrome, creating your personal brand, and how to create content that people will be interested in. It's got lots of online video training, live Q&A sessions coming up this Monday. We've got one for all the questions. And then you're in a like-minded community of decision makers. Yes, he's in Beijing. Good to see that, Brenton, as well. So as we do that, here's a QR code. I'll make it slightly smaller so you can then get your phone up and hold it up to the screen, tap on it, and it'll take you to the beta stage. We have got a beta group. That's who's working on it now for the next 3 months. But it's a one-year training course. You can join at any point. There's changing your life. That's what it's about. You don't suddenly do it and go, right, I've graduated. You do it and you do it forever. Because you might find after 3 months, you say, I want to write a book, or I want to create a podcast, or I want to have a membership site where people pay to join me, or I want to go out and do keynote speaking around the world, because you can now, or I want to have multiple income streams, I want to be able to do my own PR. A number of things that are projects like that. We will be working with you. Me and the team will be working with you, and all the many people around the world will be working with you on as well to support you. Not many people understand this. That's why I talked about early adopters. That's why I talked about the importance of having a legacy, because most people will stay with a job that they hate until they lose a job and say, I wish I'd done something different, because I kind of wasted it a bit, and that's not what I want to be. And we've also got a bonus gift for you if you join us right now. For the beta group, you get a free copy of the Personal Branding Accelerator. go to speakonstage.com/beta, and that includes special modules on getting over imposter syndrome, on being very good at LinkedIn strategy, on being able to create messaging maps so your clients instantly want to buy from you, and also personal branding, which you can only do once you've done all those other things. Otherwise, you talk about yourself, and then how to get onto people's podcasts. And while I talk about podcasts, if you have a podcast, by the way, and you're thinking, we need Dave Crane, contact me directly. I'm now open to that because we've been working really hard on putting together the Industry Icon Initiative. And now we're ready to go out and share it with your audience and with you, so you can ask me anything. How did I get on with Blind Date? How did I get to work with so many different people? How was it going out to 1 billion people over 20 plus years? Because when I did Rugby Sevens, it would go out to 200 million people at home and 50,000 in the audience, as you saw during that Bohemian Rhapsody. Any question you want for your audience, a mindset, and how did I manage to run a team for 20 years who did that with me, almost the same team from beginning to end. And also, you can ask me questions like, Dave, what's it like living in Wakanda? And I'll say, well, that's my mate. Shuri, she'll tell you everything, but don't stab her in the back. But that is, if you've seen the movie, that was a very funny joke. And, well, not funny, but you get it. So we worked together for 3 months. It's intensive. Lots of work. You might not be ready to take it all on, but it doesn't matter. By osmosis, it goes in and you get access to materials for life anyway. And then you go overcoming your imposter syndrome. I won't talk about that too much. Building your own personal brand, which means that you get found by others and you create content that people love and want to connect with you. It's social proof. And then your projects. For the next 9 months, you create what you want to position yourself. Your signature projects could be writing books, as I mentioned, launching a podcast. It could be presenting TV shows like this. It could be AI your business. What does that mean? Well, adding artificial intelligence to digitize your business to make it bigger and stronger and faster than ever before. It could be learning to do public speaking, because then you can talk about your brand and who you are and what you do, so lots of people want to work with you all the way through. It could be that you then do public relations on your own business. We've just expanded the team, and I'll tell you more about that in the future. We've got a brilliant expert who's coming to join us, who is going to be sharing with us all about how to do PR at home, so the rest of the world, proper media, not just social media, gets to want to work with you. Fascinating as well, and it can be done. Okay, and events, you might want to create online events, offline events, or even go along to other people's events and have a big impact as a speaker. You might want to create a tribe around you, a following, fans, people who want to do stuff the same as you. Not just anybody, but people who are already bought into you. And create mastermind groups, people who will pay to think the same way as you and brainstorm. And you can run these, or you can be part of them. Really, really powerful way to get things done much faster, because you get the finest minds in your industry to work with you. These are all projects that you might go, oh, I need that around my business. And I would always love to do that. That's what you do. Once you've done the Industry Icon program, you will then have an opportunity to work on that and launch on it. So people then are attracted, and you can burst into the scene with a membership site, for instance, where you turn around and say, right, pay me every month to be part of this, and I'll teach you lots of different stuff. And also coaching programs. A lot of people throwing coaching programs out there. Like people say, I'll teach you how to speak. Well, what speaking experience have you got? I taught to my mum, right? Not quite the same thing. But you might be mentoring the next generation of people to come through to your industry. Whatever it is that drives you, creating sales funnels, multiple income streams, and also full automation of your business. We teach people how to do all that as part of the Industry Icon program. Not all of it. You might say there's only certain bits that I want to have, and you might not need all of it. You might just want to be able to do public speaking. You might want to write a book. You might want to start a podcast, or you might have an existing business, but it's not really doing very well, and you want to add extra bits to it. We do all that stuff. So these are the income streams. I'm not going to spend long on this. I'll do this in a different day so you can have a look at the different things that are involved in building that up. But this is the actual areas that we're licensing and we're looking at. Creating your tribes and so on, and how you position yourself. The figures on here are not real figures. The figures on here can be much bigger or much less depending on what you want to focus on. But I just wanted to show you that so you can understand. So there we go. If you're interested in this and you've enjoyed what I've been talking about so far, all you need to do is get the QR code, tap on it, and then you'll get all the details for contacting me directly and joining our team. When I say our team, there are people who are on the program from all around the world, different areas of industry, who are all wanting to make an impact and be seen as the best at what they do. Now, if that's not you, that's fine. It's just been quality time, spending time with you, and I hope that you give me feedback and you share it and you learn and you got something from it. If it is something that really interests you, we need to talk. Because it's one of those things that when I do stuff, I do it, I love it, but I usually then elevate my game to being bigger and better. So catch this now. It's on a beta program where anybody can join us. Just have a look at the criteria and it could be you. Okay, so those are the things we're interested in helping with you, and always ask the big questions when it comes to making those impacts. And the big questions are actually quite simple. The biggest question you need to ask is, if I don't do something with my life, then what happens next? And what will happen to me? Hello to Samina from Surrey. Good to see you as well. I'm not saying Surrey. She's from Surrey in the UK. Google it. It's true. Okay. So your choice is, what do you do next? Some people will not do anything. And I get that, and I understand that you're not ready, but when it is ready for you. These are the things you can get from joining the beta program. That's a QR code, your last chance to take a look at it. If you can't do it right now, then take a screenshot, and then you can get the screenshot, tap on it, and it should be able to allow you to go to the website. If not, it's speakonstage.com beta, and you can find all the criteria by watching this video again. And there's a free gift of the accelerator. Look at that. All that stuff could be yours. Okay, what if I get if I don't join? I'm not even going to talk about that because I've had you with me for 50 minutes. I don't want to waste a second of that. I just want to say thank you for joining me. That's it. We will be back with the show probably in about a week's time. Love your feedback. If you want to chat to me directly, then you can book a call, a free complimentary call, and we can look at how you can improve your business, improve your personal impact and your branding, and also get to speak on stages. Whatever your challenges are, then DM me, and we can set up a 15-minute chat while I'm still available. Yeah. Look forward to seeing the future. All the very best. And one day you should be seen as an industry icon, because the difference it makes to you and your legacy and the fun that you have is all the things that life's truly all about. So on behalf of myself and all the many people who join me for this broadcast, thank you so much. Look after yourselves, stay groovy, and I'll catch you next week, if not before. Thank you. Bye.